The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show that is brought to you in association with Levi's Solicitors. There's the regular 10% discount on your legal fees. Usual web address coming up in a second. 15% on my call.
Wills.
Yep.
Probate.
And
conveyancing.
What's good about wills at the minute?
Good to get stuff in order.
Yep.
Same stuff that's always good about wills.
Yep.
Unless you know
You
otherwise.
can do them by video call.
That's the thing.
And you go to the website and you can book a session on there. It's like a online booking system as well. So you can do it from your own sofa if you want.
That is good.
You could even be lying down.
I hate moving.
Yeah. There you go. levisolicitors.co.uk/the square ball for full details on that. It's Dan, Michael and Moscow here on the weekly show. Should we talk about Leeds United then?
Yes. Might as well.
So we're here, innit?
Any better ideas?
Yeah.
Yes.
However, let's get into it. Rutter. It's the thing you plug in France for the internet, isn't it?
He likes being called Georgie.
Mm-hmm. You spoken to him? You asked him about this?
No, but I read him saying it somewhere. Same interview where he says he likes anime.
Georginio Rutter. Where's he played in the past, please, Moscow?
Hoffenheim.
But before they paid about £500,000 from him.
Where did they get him from?
Before that, he was at Rouen.
Came through the system at Rouen.
And even earlier than that, he was at Vaughan.
I was delighted to see that on the on his record. I thought it's got to go. You have to go on the prep sheet.
Yeah, so come through as a youth player at Vaughan, signed for Rouen, and then went to Hoffenheim, as I believe all the fans in Germany call it.
Yeah. He looks young and exciting on YouTube, doesn't he?
He certainly does.
Yeah,
he certainly does, as they all do. I always get worried about spending loads of money.
But that's no different to anything, Michael.
No, I know. It's just you look at spending that much money on someone who scored like a handful of goals and you go, oh, God. But he does look really good.
He's aware of that as a lack. The same interview he was saying, the one thing he feels he could improve on is efficiency, which he feels like it's like the last 4 years at Leeds being sped up where we're just feeling like we just need to be a bit more efficient. And then we're going to sign a striker who says, yeah, I could do with being a bit more efficient. Join the club, so he'll fit right in. He also says... Did you pick up on the other interesting thing that he says? Oh, no, it was said about him, to be fair. He's not bigging himself up.
No.
Stays very injury-free.
Oh.
Physically fit, strong, never injured. So
maybe we'll have him scoring lots of goals, but permanently injured.
You can join the Bamford crew.
Man, he's 20 years old. You don't get injured that much at that age.
Yeah, it feels like a small sample size, but that's the same thing with him not having scored like a huge amount of goals. He's not been playing football very long, and yet we still have to sign him for £35 million because that's the way of the world.
It's wild,
cheap.
Isn't it?
He's cheap.
Yeah.
I was listening to you and Phil trying to convince each other that wasn't a lot of money.
Well, I think it's not though, is it? It's just the way that the market's gone. It's
a lot. It is a lot for us though.
It is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if
us,
you had £35 million, you could buy so many things.
Yeah, you're right.
So in that sense, it's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
But which makes it incredible. Like,
no, you're not wrong.
Of all the things that you could spend, like if I gave you £35 million now, would you go and buy like a 20-year-old boy?
I mean, I think
if that's what you wanted, it could probably be arranged more cheaply.
I think we'll probably have to work on some of the details.
Dan would probably go for £31 million.
Or maybe 35 million boys at £1 each.
What am I going to do with them all?
Well, exactly. It's just crazy. None of it makes any sense. So we'll just have to have... He keeps... I know... so there's the Georgie factor. And I'm wondering if he's going to try like a... Because Jimmy Hasselbank was allowed Jimmy on his shirt for like one game before it got chopped down by the Premier League and the FA. Can
we just spend a moment on that? Because...
You're going to bring up Jordi Cruyff,
I am,
aren't you?
absolutely, because they allowed... Let's not call him Jordi Cruyff. Let's call him Geordie Cruyff because he was a scum bastard. He wanted Geordie on his shirt because he said that's what he was always known as. They allowed that at the same time as not allowing Jimmy Hasselbank Jimmy on his shirt, which is what he was known as, he said.
Yeah. With his surname, though, I keep thinking about Ritter Sport, the famous Swiss squares of chocolate that people would bring back from holidays in Europe that seem to have an incredible range and variety of flavours available. It's not his name, but it's one letter of difference, and that's enough for me. And he plays sport. And then that was the other thing of trying to work out why this chocolate was called sport, because it wasn't sport, it was chocolate. It should have been called Ritter chocolate, but
Yep.
it was called Ritter Sport. Made no sense.
It's like the little what were the little sports biscuits called?
Sports biscuits.
Sport biscuits, yeah.
That made sense, did that?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we called them.
Yeah.
There's the other ones, Nice Biscuits, which weren't.
That's
Or-
it,
or
that's-
were they also from France?
I think they were
From
they were-
Nice. Anyway, let's do the perennial question. Michael, do you want him?
Yeah,
Why do you want him? Because you're scared of paying out money for this child?
I am, but you are right. We do need to spend some money on good players, probably.
And he's dead good.
He does look exciting, and I've kind of, from the YouTube clips, I've convinced myself we can make him work as a number 9, even though he looks like he's maybe at his best cutting in a bit. He does get some headed goals. He does some stuff in the kind of penalty box as well.
God, I can't imagine being you. Just living in this world of perpetual dread.
Well, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It's not your money, is it?
Well, no, but it means if we spend this, we don't have 30 million to spend on someone else, do we?
Probably the 49ers' money.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If I felt like we had an unlimited pool of money,
Some rich fella in America is ponying up for this boy. Yay, let's get him in.
They'll want it back at some point, though, won't they? They're not here to sports wash or anything, so they're not just chucking money for the sake of it. They're going to want a return. So
Are you saying you want some money left over for Shea Adams?
just buy him, so we don't have to talk about
Or
it
do you
anymore.
want that kid from Coventry?
Oh yeah, whose name we still can't say.
Romeo Zondervan.
Peter and Lovu. That's who I'm after.
Why can't Coventry just have some simple named players? They always seem to go for the complicated ones. Ritter Sport, so it's founded just outside Stuttgart, and the brand that it's known for today was launched in 1932 after Mrs. Ritter, Clara, suggested creating a chocolate bar that would fit into a sport jacket pocket without breaking, but weighed the same as a normal bar. So it was called Ritter's Sport Chocolade. So there you go. So now we know.
What a niche.
Everybody
they've
was
got,
wearing sports coats back in the day.
And what was the one item missing from your sports coat?
Yeah, you didn't want your chocolate breaking and like popping out, because if people could see a bar of chocolate sticking out your sports jacket's pockets, they'd be like, "Can I have some of that?" So it's essentially for mean tyrants to hide their chocolate away from the prying eyes. But yeah, this is probably a good player.
And also, he doesn't appear to be linked with any Champions League teams, which means we're more likely to get him. Whereas when you looked at De Ketelaere or Kakpo or someone, you went, yeah, but if AC Milan want him, if Liverpool want him, he's probably going to go there instead, isn't he?
And the youthful naivety means that he's interested in coming to Leeds United, so good on him.
We're getting him before he knows any better. He does seem like, if passes the fine young man test, there's quotes for him where he's talking about like his rapid rise at Hoffenheim, saying, like, look, I've played half a season. I might not be that good. I'm paraphrasing, but he seems, feet on the ground and not getting carried away, and wants to come to Leeds. So he must be, what's the word for it? Charmingly stupid.
It feels like it's kind of a supercharging of the pathway, doesn't it? They've injected steroids in a metaphorical sense into this pathway.
What will this mean for Joffrey Gelhardt?
Swansea, West Brom, maybe.
Or reunite with Carlos Corberán.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be quite a lazy link for any player that we sort of want to move that way. It's going to be like, he had his reuniting with Charlie Creswell, reuniting with Carlos Corberán. Who else? Everybody.
it feels like Joffrey needs minutes.
Rafinha
though,
reuniting with. Did they ever cross paths? No.
I was saying was one of the other shows, can't remember, but Rutter is only a month or so old. I think it's 2 weeks older than Joffrey, so they are of a similar ilk.
Seems like he's better. I think somebody was asking that question, like, why are we spending £35 million on a player the same age as her? Why don't we just put the faith in our own youth players? They're like, well, he's better.
Yeah.
So that'll be that. But it's going to be, it's an interesting new facet of the whole pathway shenanigans, because there'll be a tendency now, and there is already this, it was going to be Joffrey season, and it's not really happened at any point. So he's being written off because that's what people do. Same with Brendan Aronson is now, total waste of money and should never have been signed. It's Joffrey's never going to make it League One level. Bin him off like Tyler Roberts. More likely that we'll have next season, the rest of this season and next season will be Rutter's season, and then
That's
which I'm sure is what
SZN, isn't it?
I'm sure it's what Stags do.
Season.
And then that's when Paris Saint-Germain sign him, and then we bring Joffy back from his loan to wherever, and then it's back, and then it's Gelhardt's season. So these kids being our kids being out on loan while we have a £35 million future Champions League player passing through, it doesn't mean it's the end for Joffy. It means he might just have to go away and then come back.
He just needs to go play.
We'll be turning into Chelsea, is what I'm kind of.
Yeah, he needs to play, doesn't he? And 5 minutes here and there in dribs and drabs is not doing him any good, I don't think. And you wonder with the overall strategy, because there's rumours about it's Azzedine Ounahi, I'm going to say, as a first attempt there, Moroccan midfielder. That one's still circulating. Again, sort of ticks the boxes in the sense that he's 22 years old. There's talk of Water having followed him for a little bit.
And hating him.
Hating him.
Well, not hating him.
It's an interesting strategy for a transfer target, that, isn't it?
Well, he did an interview about...
He's just trying to get his confidence down before we sign him.
Yeah, basically about players who impress at the World Cup and get signed. And he's saying it's not the same anymore, and you don't have a player who breaks through who nobody's ever heard of because there's so much data. It's all about the data. So everybody knows about every player. So he was saying there's a lot of attention, and he was saying that Andrea Radrizzani had been texting him saying, "What about this Ounahi player? He looks really good. Should we be signing him?" And the Orta's attitude is like, again, I'm going to paraphrase: footballing simpletons who don't know anything about players are impressed because they've never seen Ounahi before, so they see him at a World Cup and are like, "Let's buy him." Whereas
shiny new thing,
the people who live their life by data and Football Manager games know all about him, and so Orta's attitude was he's playing better than anybody who has been watching him for the last few years thinks he has ever been capable of playing, and it would be foolish, therefore, to think that that's his level when all the factors of it's a World Cup, it's the Moroccan team are on a big momentum roll. All these things mean he may never play that well again because he's never looked like playing that well before. So now we're signing him.
Yeah, 25 million quid down.
Which club's he at, Moscow?
He is at...
He's in France, isn't he?
He's in France, yeah.
What's the authentic pronunciation?
Angers.
Sorry?
Angers. The monkey Angers.
He's at Angers. Yeah, he's at Hartlepool.
Is he not at Angers?
I'm pretty sure if you ask the locals, it's Angers. I think because it seems likeliest that he's going to Napoli or Milan, it feels like we're just being thrown into this probably because the Victor Orta interview was interpreted by a lot of clickbait sites as Leeds express interest in World Cup star, and it was because the president has texted his director of sport to say, who is this guy? And then leaving aside all the fact that the director of sport went, he's useless.
That's basically how we signed Liam Cooper, though.
Yeah.
I think
Chairman saw him and went, should buy him, he's good.
That worked out.
Eventually it did.
It's amazing. Who was it? Who's the player who was at that game who we were going to sign? Was it Viviani?
Pavoletti, was it?
Pavoletti, one of those who... It's amazing that if only we told him, like, it's okay, we're going to sign some of Chesterfield's good players. You don't have to turn down this contract and go home.
Does it encourage you that we appear to be looking for reinforcements sort of down the spine of the team in terms of a centre forward, potentially a central midfielder as well on top of that? We've got Verber already who can do centre back and left back.
Yeah, and it does encourage me, and it encourages me that it is the 11th of January and not 10 minutes before the window shuts, which is where it felt like, I know it wasn't where most of the business was done because there was Adams and Aronson and Christensen. There were people in through the door really quickly, but then there was that panic at the end, which I didn't like much. I suppose the thing is here, we get Rutter and Ounahi maybe, and then it comes to the 31st and we, sell Tyler Adams. just to make it Leedsy. We let him go for 22 million pounds to Scum or something.
I think in summer they were...
Oh dear.
In summer they did... They basically built a midfield, didn't they? And got a alleged replacement for Luke Ayling. And then signing a striker or a forward on top with De Ketelaere or Hakpo seems to be put into that kind of marquee bracket of if we can get a duel, we'll do it. And that's why it ended up taking so long. And the only reason the very end of it turned into a farce was because we decided to let Dan James go on the thinking that we were getting a replacement. Whereas if we hadn't let Dan James go, it probably just would have been, we can't get Hackbo, shrug, YOLO, doesn't matter. What we've seen since is Pat Bamford still just cannot get himself into a position to play. So it's now more of a thing of like, no, actually, we can't mess around. We've got this far. We probably would have been better with a striker. If we would have been better if we'd signed Hackpo before now. But it didn't feel, you could understand why it felt like a nice to have in summer, whereas now it is more of a, no, let's go and get one. And then it's interesting that we are still going for like £35 million strikers or forwards instead of Shea Adams.
Where's the money coming from, Michael?
Don't know. Is that credit card?
Stick it on the never. We'll pay it back eventually. It's fine.
So,
It was there in summer, wasn't it? We were going to pay to get there somehow, and would have done if Radrić only did that frustrating interview, didn't he? Where it's like, if I'd only gone there 10 days earlier, I knew I should have done that. Good, thanks for telling us that. So there was money there to spend wherever it was coming from, and the money still seems to be there to do it, but they were like saving it up for something special, weren't they? Like a treat.
It's strange with this thing of we've got the money for the right player if we want it sort of thing, because I was listening back to a really old podcast. It was the time when the transfer window we signed Adam Forshaw, the badge thing had just happened, and the reason I was listening to that podcast is because we let Matt Click go. And for an extra ball episode, we're going to be talking about Matt Click. So I was listening to what we said about that. But at the same time as that was all happening, we were being linked with Jordan Hugill, who was at Preston, who ended up going to West Ham for like £8 million, I think, or something.
That was that late in the window wild purchase that everyone kind of went, what?
Yeah. And I think at the time, Kinnear had said, we could afford him if we really wanted him, but we don't think he's very good.
Yeah.
Or certainly not.
Again, might be paraphrasing.
He's not, well, I think we said he's not worth what Preston are asking for him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been the policy for maybe longer than we think. And you have to say they were probably right on old Jordan, because looking at his record, he scored 0 goals for West Ham. Then he's been on loan at Middlesbrough and QPR and Norwich and West Brom and Cardiff.
It's all very championshipy, isn't it?
He's never done as well as he did in that little bit before West Ham paid £9 million for him.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens across the rest of this window, because it seems like something's kind of flipped here in terms of going, we need to do something here to make this work. Because it does feel like all the momentum, all the air's been taken out of the sails with the whole Marsh project, doesn't it? It's not really heading anywhere at the minute other than,
how dare you,
gurgling around the plug hole at the moment.
If they'd only be a bit braver in moments.
I might be wrong. Yeah. They're scared. I'm scared. Junior Firpo, speaking of which, being linked with a move back to Betis.
To where? Moscow again?
Moscow, yeah. Give us your authentic.
I believe the locals prefer to call it Real Betis.
Yeah.
It's the plan. I apologise to everybody that worries about these things.
But yeah, they're selling their left back to Villa, so they need someone.
And
is the left back that's selling to Villa good?
Well, I know. It does make you think.
Moreno, isn't it? That they're getting for a similar price to what Junior was. So would you accept him going there? I think it feels, in a general sense, like yes.
Don't Aston Villa have a good left back?
They've Digne, don't they?
Yeah, so they signed him a year ago.
Fred Digner, yeah.
And everybody was having a go at Leeds, going like, why haven't we signed him? He's good. Like that, like Villa are sorting out.
And they have
all their players.
Matt Target as well, with the let go to Newcastle.
And still they're having to sign another left back. There is, I don't know, sometimes I do think it's frustrating that Leeds don't just sign a good left back, but then also at least we're not signing
Well, Villa
one.
have got them all.
Yeah, if Villa weren't signing one every window to replace the one that they've just bought, there might be some left for the rest of us. But different ways of running clubs. And I suppose if you sign enough left backs and you hire and sack enough managers, you somehow end up with Moreno and Unai Emery, and you lose to Stevenage. So
we'll see you again in 12 months.
And then probably beat us on Friday, so I should shut my mouth, didn't I?
But in a general sense, I would be more than happy with him leaving. But, we don't have any other left backs. I know we've signed Verber, haven't we? He was a sort of left back, centre back, defensive midfielder.
Well, the links to like that Kirkes, wasn't there, that young lad? And you wonder if maybe they would, if Junior went, then they would then move on him. Something like that, to sort of fill that. Because if he's 19, that lad, then you've got someone then for the 23s who could also cover the first team.
I mean, presumably the problem with Firpo going back there will be
The
that
21.
he probably left there on like 18 grand a week and will be trying to go back there on about 70 or something stupid. So that might be difficult.
He has said he would like to play for them again before he retires. So it's probably not got long, given how things are going. So he might be willing to forgo some of his wages, pull a bit of a PK at Barcelona and, do a leave a hero or arrive back a hero. And then they can watch him play and decide how heroic he is.
It kind of stinks of loan, doesn't it? It kind of stinks of, we'll send him out there on loan for the rest of the season.
I mean, where has this story come from? So just
the internet
bollocks, isn't it? So it stinks of internet bollocks to me. I don't think we're going to be loaning out a left back. And it's it's one of these. It's really easy to kind of draw the dots. So and Anahi is because Radrizzani mentioned him and Victor Orta brought him in an interview, and then the Real BT's link is just so obvious that if they're selling a left back and we've just signed one, we can do a lot better than Firpo, but I don't think letting him leave under any sort of loan or permanent or even having a holiday would be wise, because for all his sins, if there's problems, it would be good to have somebody who can technically, like in theory, play at left back between now and the end of the season.
We'll send him on holiday in the summer, maybe.
Yeah, that's the time to sort it out. I think we've got, hopefully, Verba will do the business, and Strauch has not let anybody down playing there so far this season. And then Firpo as well. What damage can he do between now and the end of the season? And
that's an open question.
If he plays like he did in the second half at Cardiff, he could be the difference.
With reference to loans, then, Charlie Creswell looks like he's heading back from Millwall. That's kind of all ground to a halt for him, hasn't it? It felt like his star was rising when you go back 12 months when we played West Ham at home and you thought, there's the next big thing. And it's just kind of
got a couple on his debut for Millwall as well, didn't he? And it was
he scored a few actually, hasn't he? But yeah, it's just never quite clicked into place for him there.
Yeah, I did watch. Well, kind of had it on while I did other stuff. The Millwall against Sheffield United game, just because it was on, and I thought, well, it was on the internet maybe.
How sorry, tell us how Charlie Cresswell did.
Not great.
Okay.
And it was against Sheffield United that he did that awful back pass earlier in the season, wasn't it?
It was. So maybe he just struggles against Hecky's tactics.
Hecking ball.
How were Sheffield United? I've not seen them.
They were fight. Millwall. They were on top. Then Millwall came back into it a bit, but couldn't score.
Were they better whip ball or way out ball?
I'd say they were adequate in both phases.
They're getting promoted to the Premier League under Hecky, aren't they?
Yep, looks like it.
They are 9 points clear of third.
Wow.
With 20 games to go.
Should have stuck with Hecky.
What do you think happens? In Ghostbusters, you couldn't cross the streams.
Yeah.
What do you think happens next season if Jesse Marsh is still here and we play Paul Heckingbottom's Sheffield United? Like, is that allowed?
Marcelo Bielsa chuckles somewhere from behind an iPad in his ranch.
Will we be okay? Will we be able to handle? Maybe they'll have an argument, like
with the ball against the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, is that what you're getting at?
Jesse's saying, well, it wasn't what I was getting at, but it is now. It's gradually unfolding in my mind of them. Like, I suppose Heckingbottom's quite small, so it'd be like his little rat face into Jesse's barrel chest saying, "What are you doing, whip ball?" Says, "We're doing things against the ball." What, without ball? No, against the ball.
Against the ball's never made sense to me as a phrase, because you're not against the ball, are you? The ball's neutral.
Depends how close you are to the ball.
I would suggest
you might be resting against it.
With ball, without ball makes a lot more sense than against the ball.
Yeah. Anyway.
And what's the American version of the opposite of being against the ball? Is it on the ball? In favour of the ball. We're really behind the ball. Back in the ball.
Let's wrap up the other loans then.
Well, I was just going to say on old Charlie Creswell, because we're all like, oh, he's not getting the game time at Millwall. We need to bring him back and send him back on loan somewhere else. There's another player on loan at Millwall who is not getting the game time called Jamie Shackleton. We're doing anything about that, or do we just not care?
Poor old chap.
He's not getting the game time at Millwall.
And we're taking away his friend.
He can carry on, yes, and he's now going to have nobody to keep him company on the bench, and he can just carry on not getting the game time at Millwall. If anybody needs to be reunited with Carlos Corberán, it's Jamie Shackleton.
McCalmont sent to Carlisle.
Ah, there's a throwback when we used to play Carlisle. I see Jesse Marsh has lied to him as well.
In what way?
He said he went to go to get his boots, and he said they'll be keeping an eye on me. He's going to get clips and monitor how I'm doing here, and hopefully I've seen some good stuff come summer. He ain't watching that. He didn't even watch. Jesse didn't even watch us beating Man City, did he? When we were about to play him, he hadn't even watched that. Is he fuck watching Carlisle games?
He might monitor it through a scout or something like that.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch.
Well, after you've been on holiday, and you've
yeah. Good to see you. We'll have that pint.
If he does watch any of them, we might end up signing Carlisle's number 9 if we need a goal scorer.
Oh, is this a quiz? Oh, it's Ryan Edmondson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
So that could, with Marsh's obliviousness to our recent history, like that guy up front for Carlisle was playing with Alfie.
Yelder's been linked to Rotherham.
Yeah, fine.
Well, let's wrap it up then on the 21s who lost 1-0 at Forest on Friday. It was quite a weak inside, wasn't it? Because of the 21s that were all involved in the Cardiff game over the weekend.
Yeah, it's Forest cheated, really.
So boo for the 21s. Hooray for the women who got through to the 4th round of the FA Cup, and they're going to face Arsenal, which is a hell of a tie for them, isn't it?
That's absolutely massive. Arsenal away as well, so it's Boreham Wood. It's a shame it's not. Move it to the Emirates.
Hang on a second. So they play at Boreham Wood. We could be playing at Boreham Wood also in the 4th round of the FA Cup.
We all just got to move into Boreham Wood.
The stars of aligned. Where is Boreham Wood?
London.
Doesn't sound very exciting.
Down there somewhere.
Yeah,
Where near Dragons.
Boredom Forest was its original title, but they had to dress it up a bit to get people to live there.
I was just about to ask you if that was true.
It's in Hertfordshire.
Oh,
it's
right.
more like
Watford territory.
Yeah, it's near Watford, kind of way.
Watford, right?
So barely even London.
Fine,
but that's there is probably few bigger. It's a shame. Well, it's a shame in general that Beth Mead and Viv Medina's ACLs have both snapped in recent weeks, because like Beth Mead is one of the biggest names, and that would be someone you want to
sounds really sore, doesn't
play
it?
against. Yeah, and it's not a good thing, but I think there's probably enough quality in that Arsenal team. Well, Amy Woodruff tweeting at Leah Williamson that she can't wait to just swap shirts with her. That's what it's
the romance, the romance of the bloody cup.
It is the romance of the bloody cup. Imagine if Leeds win.
I mean, I know Leeds versus Arsenal doesn't sound like a massive underdog story, but it actually is.
It's like tiers below them, aren't they? So
yeah, it's a fully professional team against an amateur team.
Fully professional Champions League team.
Yeah, so it's a vast difference.
Leeds have signed a striker as well, Jess Rousseau, from Lincoln City.
That's a French name, isn't it?
What? Jess. I can't do Jess in a French accent.
Joss. Let's stop you, Moscow. Let's save you from yourself.
I like her style because she's scored, I think it's 12 in 14 so far this season. And she said she wants to double her goal tally now she's come to Leeds.
Good on her.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure there's that many games left in the league. She'll have to score. So what's double 12? Another 12.
What's double 12?
In about like half the number of games, probably. Maybe
how many? If it's half the number, how many games are that?
Well, she's played 14 so far, so it would need to be 12 in 7 instead of 12 in 14.
Okay. Well done.
Which, fair play, she can pull that off.
There we go. That does wrap up part 1 then. And we will be back with the Villa game preview on your feed. Friday night action. You're looking forward to that? Yeah. And we've got Heroes and Villains as well coming up. Look out for it.
The Square Ball Podcast.